Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and you can see that I've pulled out the focal length. That must mean that I'm getting ready to review and unbox something large, and indeed I am. If you'll remember my journey to not so local miniature market in the St. Louis area, I picked up a bargain. I picked up a copy of Tenfold Dungeon Smuggler's Den, a modular role-playing terrain system, RPG scale, we'll find out what that means, for ages 14 and plus. This contains 12 illustrated rooms, 4 tables, 6 staircases, 48 plastic clips, 20 doors, 2 large doors, 4 small doors. That's a strange separation there. Why didn't they call them 20 medium doors, 20 normal doors, and 6 boxes? And we're going to find out exactly what this entails while we get a look also at some other Tenfold Dungeon in the same series: Cyberpunk City, Starship Vengeance, and Daedalus Station. This is the Smuggler's Den, though. This is the only one that was on clearance, and it was on clearance because it was damaged. And what kind of damage? Well, we're going to see the extent of that. We're also going to get a close look at what Tenfold Dungeon is all about. There are a series of these. It's not just the sci-fi cyberpunk that you see on the side of this box. There are actually a lot of them having to do with the old world type of fantasy as well, villages and dungeons and crypts and the like. So there is something for everybody, but whether or not this sort of product is for you, we'll get into as we unbox this. It is important to note that these are 25mm squares. This grid system is 25 to 28 scale for role-playing games. I'll give you some real examples of what it's like to have these different scales of miniatures in the squares that we're about to see, but just some of the examples of the rooms that you'll see in this box. Docking bay, seedy back room, love that description, saloon, motel, warehouse, small docking bay, back alley, surgery, repair shop, gambling den, general store, and black market. Our doors look like this, and our staircases and tables and boxes look like this. And our corner plastic clips and door clips and T-clips will help keep everything together. So, first things first, we're going to open this up, and don't worry, we're going to ask the question, will it HeroQuest? And I'll go ahead and answer that right now. No, you fool, it will not HeroQuest. So, HeroQuest is a fantasy. Oh god, I just destroyed this box even more. Wow. You want to know how I got these scars? Thankfully, this box is not the important part of all this, but I do hate that that happened. It was so quick, so fast. Oh man, thankfully the boxes inside that make up the actual dungeon content are made of much sturdier stuff, and you won't need the outside of the box if you're planning on using these with any regularity. You can actually see what kind of cardboard these are made out of once we get a look at what's damaged here. There's a little bit of damage here. I didn't do this. This was already like this when I bought it. Ash here with a word from this video sponsor. You're the sponsor. There's new benefits on the Patreon, and if you join the Mighty Hero tier now, you will gain access to a monthly quest designed by me, exclusive to members of this tier and above. You'll have access to polls to be able to vote on upcoming content, and have a special role for the Amalgam Archive Discord server. You'll be credited as a supporter at the end of every YouTube video I make, and finally, gain access to HeroQuests. That's a video game. All right, back to the video. But this basically comes as 2 of the largest of the Tenfold Dungeons designs, which are basically trays. They're cardboard trays, more or less, stacked together, front to front. And we've got our sheets where we'll have our doors and our stairs. And what are these? Larger boxes, and especially the external lids, are exposed to higher tension and are more likely to suffer rips on their corners. We have provided these reinforcing stickers to help you look after your Tenfold Dungeon boxes so they always look pristine. Stick these protectors on the corners of the larger boxes as soon as you can, and if possible, before you dismantle the original composition, to accommodate them to the outwards tension built during the manufacturing and assembly process. That's quite nice. Very nice. There's 8 of them all together, so you can put them in your external lids. I like that. That's a point. That is a point. That is a win. Very self-aware and very appreciated. Maybe a bit late for me. No, it's not too late. It's not too late. We can get those reinforcing stickers on. I don't know why I put these in here. They're going to be very difficult to remove now, but we'll remove them just to give you a better look at what these entail. A little bit maybe damage to the cardboard around these, but not to the tiles themselves. By the way, I think I got this for like 20 bucks, and its original price was around 50, so This was a fantastic deal. I couldn't pass this up. Very large doors, and you'll get to see now, this is what door means. These are large doors, these are small doors, and these are doors. And you can come up with your own rules for how those might work. This is RPG agnostic. It doesn't matter what you're playing with this, but we're not going to be looking, I guess we will look at HeroQuest because I happen to have the miniatures just over there, but we're going to ask the really important question, will this Space Crusade? That to me is worth asking more than anything. We've got our T-clips here. These are just going to keep everything nice and in place for when we start to configure rooms. And then this is really the crux of the Tenfold Dungeon experience. If you recall, I did do a video on these, but I never actually had a physical product before. This is my first Tenfold Dungeon physical product. And this is essentially a tray that gives us the interior of a room that is pre-gridded. It's plotted out for us to put stuff in, put our encounters in, put our miniatures in, furniture, whatever we want. And we can take these rooms and we can have them, pardon my usage of the HeroQuest mat here, my Ian Schofield's beautiful Dungeons mat in the background against this sci-fi interior. We can take these rooms, we can place them just like this. Some of them can be interiors, okay? And if we flip these upside down, we'll have exteriors, and we can place those as well. So you can have terrain that is three-dimensional. You can have heroes go from room to room and then traverse upstairs and then be on the upper level in a completely different environment, different context. And you can take and have different levels of room, just like this, with the differing heights. And you can also come up with your own rules as to what constitutes movement across these different levels. And line of sight. Now that the hero is up here on the ledge, can they see down into the room below? Here's our large door clips, and we'll go ahead and pop out a couple of doors and give you a sense of what happens when we clip doors. How do these work? Well, they kind of look like T's. They've got a thicker opening in the middle and then slightly thinner openings on either side. This thicker opening is to accommodate two of the dungeon rooms together. So we'll just place that over the both of them together. You may have to do a little bit of manipulation, but once you get it on there, it's good to go. And it's at this point that I find out that the large doors are actually suited for the taller rooms, so we'll just disconnect that now. Great job, Ash. We'll go ahead and show you what not to do. Also, it's probably easier to go ahead and put the doors into the clips before we even set this down onto the dungeon wall. So we'll put a door on that side, we'll put a door on that side, and that's why we have even numbers of doors. So we've got two large doors, closed and open. I didn't even realize that, so you can change how these doors look before you even place them down. I'll go ahead and do an open door on one and a closed door on the other, and I'll show you why here in just a second. Go ahead and shove this clip right in between here. And just as I suspected, it would be very difficult to get this door into place after you put the clip down between the rooms. So this is kind of the only way to do it. Well, in Space Crusade and in HeroQuest, you have a pretty good idea of what kind of rooms you're going to be traversing into. I mean, it's not like you can go off of the board, so you can at least see what possible configurations there would be. So it's no different here. You can go ahead and set up the rooms and the doors before you even really lay out your encounters and your roleplay and everything. And for those rooms that you don't want to reveal yet, you can have them upside down like this. Indeed, this is actually a part of how Tenfold Dungeons is supposed to work. So your heroes are walking along and they see the exterior, and you can fight around the exterior or travel on it, explore, whatever. And when a hero decides to enter the room, you can flip it over and reveal the inside contents. And now these door clips, you could actually just have them where they'll show the outside, and you can position your door along the outside just like this. And it's kind of movable. I mean, it's going to move around because this isn't fastening two boards together, but this is fine. This is a fine use of this, so your heroes can see where the door is going to be and then enter. And then you can flip this over, put the door on the same wall the heroes entered through. Never mind that the graphic is technically upside down. I mean, you can't even tell that that's upside down anyway. It's a fairly directionally agnostic door. And then the heroes enter. That is one of the ways that you can use this system. You could even take interior rooms, flip them over to make exterior rooms, and put them in larger rooms to make corridors or rooms within buildings, standalone rooms like this one. And if at this point you still lack inspiration for what you could do with these dungeon rooms, gosh, some of them are really tightly packed there, you can have some of them form a bridge to other exterior rooms like so. Now you might ask, Ash, how am I going to traverse this giant level that you just laid out? Well, it takes up a lot of space on the board, to be honest, on the table rather. So it might be uncommon for you to use all of the rooms all at once unless you've got a grand design going. And unfortunately, we don't really have a cool tool with which we can record the layout of all of this. No like PDF design or anything like that. But this is just kind of how I made this level. And I'll go ahead and grab my Space Crusade stuff, set it up, get some of these stairs built, which I guess I can do the stair building on camera because why not? You'd like to see how that operates, wouldn't you? And I'd like to finally break these stairs free of their shackles. So determine which side of the stairs is going to be your art side. They both look pretty identical. I don't think it matters much which side we use. The joy of this system is that there's going to be so much negative space inside the box even after you're done nesting as many of these rooms as possible that will fit in one another, that you can leave your stairs and doors and everything pretty much assembled in the box, and it should all fit without any problem, I would think. Because when I opened this up, there was plenty of negative space for me. If you have a dedicated way of using this, like with a specific game of miniatures, role-playing rules, whoops, you can just throw that stuff into the box with your dungeon layout. Okay, a little tip with the stairs. Depending on which direction you're coming from, they're easier or harder to press together. So you might decide that leaving them together is most practical no matter what you do to store stuff. All right, and so that's just like an example of how you can do stuff with this specific set. The stairs do go up a little bit over the edge of the shorter room. Not that that necessarily matters to me, might matter to somebody out there. And with the bigger room, they kind of provide a natural fourth step to get on top of the building that you're ascending to. So that actually looks really cool. I like that a lot. So my boxes are going to create this sort of tower that you can climb, and I'll have to position things a bit specifically. My box also needs to be kind of repaired. This was bent in the collision that happened to it before I got it, but we can do some really cool stuff here. As you can see, I chose to have one side of the large door open when you're in this room, and that's because when you come out the other side, it's going to shut behind you. So then you'll have enemies to blast, and then you'll go up the stairs, and then you'll be up on the rooftops. You'll traverse the rooftops, and you'll gain access to this building by coming over the top of the buildings here. I could put a door there just for show, just to show that there is, you know, an exterior and a way to get in, but we're doing a covert ops mission to get into this building. That's the role play behind all this. But if you had an opportunity to get this for $20 or any of the Tenfold Dungeon series for $20, specifically the fantasy ones, if you're wanting to use them with HeroQuest or what have you, I would jump on the chance to do that because $20, that's a steal for this. I made out like a bandit. The regular price of $50, that's going to depend on how useful you find these. One of the cons, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to put a lot of people off, is the height of these walls. These don't have to be nearly this tall. While it's awesome to have the artwork, in practicality, somebody who is farther away from their character on the table, from where they're sitting, they're going to have a slightly more difficult time seeing stuff. And if you add the furniture and the other 3D elements that are going to be placed, if you use furniture or at least the minis, then that'll be just a little bit more for them to have to kind of lean to one side or the other to peer over. And this isn't even the taller of the two boxes. This is. And that's a significant height. There's not much a reason to have the walls be this high at all, especially when you're dealing with miniatures that are supposed to be in these 25mm squares. You could put these walls at half the height and you'd still find people who might complain about the height of the wall. Putting the walls at about a quarter of the height, I think you'd have a lot more customers who'd be happy. But the other purpose of these is to flip them over and have exteriors, so I kind of get why they're so tall. Still, I don't think there's much a reason you couldn't just have them at half the height and have double the box, or provide with some sort of roof tile so that you could stack them and make things a little taller. I don't know. It'll have to come down to what you guys say in the comments. Oftentimes, I will comment about this stuff and give a very preliminary judgment. Just, this is my first impression, literally. And folks will come in with all these edge cases and, well, you didn't consider this. And I mean, obviously not. It's just a first impression. But I do want to hear what those edge cases might be. So go on with your bad selves. Tell me tell me why these buildings being so tall is great. You could also exclusively use them for exteriors. You don't have to use them for interiors. Although if you were going to do that, I'd say why not just make your own terrain to begin with out of cardboard? I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're going to be playing something like Kill Team or 40K, all of your figurines are going to be sanctioned, of course, but your terrain could be whatever you want it to be, right? Now we've got wide steps leading up. I didn't even notice that there was a size difference in the width. Very wide steps leading up. You could definitely use these with very large models. All right, we're gonna pop out some of these to make our tables and our crates. We have a few of these that we can make. Well, that's what they decided to go with. I have to make the crates side by side. I very much prefer the dungeon in a box way of doing it, and you won't hear me say that very often. Dungeon in a box, you get a crate that you can basically pop out. It's one tile, you fold all four sides together, and then all you got to do is pop one side on top. These, you've got guesswork. You've got a little bit of pre-fitting you've got to do before you commit. I don't even know if I have the correct pieces to put this together. I don't even know if I put these pieces together correctly to begin with to be able to move on to the next section. This is okay. It's just got me wondering, am I really not smart enough to put together a 6-sided crate? Whatever, let's move on to the tables. They're calling these tables. These are unruly. These are ridiculously tall tables. What are we supposed to use this with? This is a table. This is a table. These are 25mm squares. Why are you like this, Tenfold Dungeons? A table. This, my friends, is not a table. This is an archway. This is a port. This is a way that small drones and things can get into your ship. We'll just put that right there. And now we've got an entry point that spawns monsters. Table. Are you serious? All right, having established the fact that I'm too dumb to put together a crate, we won't be putting together any crates. It's time to break out my Marines. I feel like everybody asks, will it HeroQuest? Nobody ever asks, how is HeroQuest? That's not the bit. I screwed that up. In case you needed a reminder, these are the tiles that are used with SPACE CRUSADE. They are almost identical in size. We get a little bit of a scale creep over time with the tiles. A, because there's gaps whenever you put the boxes together, and B, because these tiles aren't exactly the same size. They are just ever so slightly smaller. If we start at the same line here, we get a little bit of lining up properly, and then the further we go, the more we get that tile creep, as I like to call it, until things are very misaligned. So I probably wouldn't want to use these with these exactly, unless it was going to be something like this, where you could see down into the center, and if your Marines entered the center or exterior of these rooms down into the play area below, it would be made abundantly clear where these tiles started and these tiles began, or these tiles ended and these tiles began, rather. You'll be left with little outlier things like this gap, this sort of thin alleyway. You just tell your players, don't worry about that. That's not part of anything. But I mean, all in all, we have a pretty pleasing space scene here. Enough of that, let's get the Marines out, like I've been saying. Paint your minis, Ash. Prime and paint your minis, Ash. I can't do that, or else my Ultramarines would no longer be blue. They would just be a different blue that I painted them, because what else am I going to paint the Ultramarine? Red? Yellow? No. The Imperial Fists are yellow. What am I going to do? Paint my Chaos Marines so that they're not black anymore? No, they're already, consider them painted. Good enough for me. Okay, we've got Chaos Marines lined up here along the outside. They can't see you if you're in the interior regions, because the interior is, it's protected. This interior is protected. They're not going to see you. These chapters are coming together to work together for this one cause. They've got to clear out the smuggler's den, because they like to come here and gamble and sleep and eat and all of that stuff, and it's kind of a neutral territory, but it's being overrun by Chaos, Space Marines, and Necrons. That's right, Necrons have decided to take over the smuggler's den. Don't ask me why. Necron's gonna do what Necron's doing. And just because I can, and there's nothing that you can do to stop me, let's go ahead and throw a Gene Stealer in here as well, beginning the very start of the Gene Stealer Tyrannid invasion by taking over another entity so as to copy their DNA. That's not the correct side of the arm. How many left arms do I have in here? There we go. There we go. You know what? It would have looked cool either way. These guys cannot fail in how cool they look. There's a Tyranid here. There's a Tyranid here smuggling DNA. But it doesn't sound right. Well, he's going to be on the board anyway, and you get to decide the context because this is just a diorama to show you what all this stuff looks like once it's in practice. Move out, men. This is no derelict space hulk. This is the smuggler's den. There are civilians on board, merchants, space consorts, and all kinds of other stuff. We will destroy you, Space Marines. May chaos reign. Get your head in the game, Ultramarine. Why are you facing the wall? I thought I heard a noise, sir. And now you are ready to fight. That's kind of it. There's not a whole lot of other sprucing up that I would do with this scene. I would probably just go ahead and start running it, although I would put a bunch of Gretchen and Space Orcs and stuff in here as well, not just the few puny enemies that I have for these Space Marines to tear through. Also, the chapters should be a lot bigger. If we're playing a proper game of Space Crusade, then we're going to have like 5 of each of the colors in here. And over time, I might grab copies of these miniatures so that I can paint them up to be other things, because I would love to have a bunch of chapters in my game of Space Marines, not just the 3, but like let's get some white for some Absolvers, some purple for Hawk Lords and stuff like that. There's like 1,000 chapters out there. This is going to be a lot of money. This is a big, ambitious project that I'm probably not going to complete. But it's fun to talk about. Let me know in the comments your favorite chapter of Space Legion, Space Marine. Were you there the day that Horus gave the Emperor an energy drink? Final verdict, I can definitely see the worth if we're going to be playing a game of Space Crusade homebrew using all of these different cyberpunk packs. And if you have a TTRPG that you're running, these are awesome for that. Do not get them near water. That's going to be a big deal. But also, forget those stupid crates. The crates are terrible. I hate the crates. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Everything else is fine though. Love the stairs. Every time I see stairs in any sort of sci-fi or modern context that has any sort of mechanized enemy like the Necrons, my mind always goes back to the scene in Terminator where the giant bipedal robot fell down the stairs because they didn't build it to stair well. It's fun. It's fun to be a millennial and have all of my positive memories from movies in my childhood. But as far as fantasy goes, that's a little bit of a different story. I guess if we're playing war games, then yeah, you could use your fantasy stuff, or if it's a TTRPG, these would be great for fantasy, but I don't know that I would use them for HeroQuest. I don't think the 25mm squares are any sort of big deal. There's not going to be a lot of figure crowding if you're using the figures in this context where they're able to range shoot each other and whatnot. It's only games like HeroQuest where figures have to constantly be crowding each other to melee attack over and over again, in and out as they limited action swipe and then run away, or run in and then swipe before ending their turn. And honestly, that's not gonna always be a big deal either. I don't really complain about figure crowding that much unless we're dealing with like the abominations that have their arms swinging wide everywhere. And those are 32mm anyway, so on that note, I won't be getting any of those miniatures out because I don't see a point. Well, hold on a second, I got this lady right here. This is from HeroQuest. This is Thala. This is fantasy, completely different game, completely different everything. She's 32mm. Her base fits great in this square. So, I mean, these could HeroQuest. I could actually see HeroQuest being a great use case for Tenfold Dungeons as well, because they use a lot of indoor and outdoor scenery, and there's very much a wave after wave mechanic of enemies if you let the first wave see you and then ring the bell. So, but all that maybe for another video. If you'd like to see more Tenfold Dungeon reviews and you'd like me to get a fantasy one, I'm going to need some funding for that, so consider checking out the Patreon, always linked in the description below. You can get access to, I probably just already inserted the ad into the video, so I'm not going to keep talking about that. Thank you very much for watching. Comment anything you like down below, and until next time, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.